be fair always. And that's when I'll be there always. And not for just an hour, not for just a day, and not for just a year, but always. And not for just an hour, not for just a day, and not for just a year, but always.
The next reading we have is taken from the book of Matthew. It's where Jesus lays out, I guess, really the spiritual DNA of those who are going to follow him. So as we read through this, see if you can identify ivy amongst all these words here that characterise who Jesus' followers are. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." I'm going to have some more tributes now and some more remembering. David, Carol, Christine and June are going to come up and share a few of those memories with us to start.
I'm not terribly sorry, I'm a little bit unprepared. I think I've left my notes in my suit coat, but never mind. You know, just sitting here this morning makes me realise what a remarkable woman Ivy is, or was, or still is to us. And I look out here, what a remarkable legacy that she's left behind. Her daughters, 4 old ladies and Tracy. And grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And the greatest service that you can all give to God, the greatest tribute that you can give Ivy, is to live your life as she did. You know, as we learned this morning, you know, her life started in adversity. And what a lesson that is, because the finest steels are forged with adversity. And those finest steels are you, her family, and her friends. And I remember, you know, Ivy was a great friend of my mother's, who's been past 23 years. I can often remember, sometimes Herb would come as well, and they'd have morning tea in the kitchen at home, 324 Calum. Honestly, there would be so much laughing. I would think that both of them would have had a heart attack long before they did. They were the good old days. They were many years ago now. It was before Wayne and Stephen still had hair. My chest measurement was bigger than my waist. But everything that we always think about Ivy, and my mother always spoke of how Ivy was a good woman. And my mum was a woman, I guess much like Ivy, you know, grew up in adversity and the beginning of the Depression, and she always said that Ivy was a good woman. I think that means a lot to her. So I won't bore you anymore, but thank you.
This is a poem for Auntie Ivy, and it's how I feel about her. I'm sending a dove to heaven, a parcel on its wings. Be careful when you open it. It's full of beautiful things. Inside it, a million kisses, wrapped up in a million hugs. Just say how much I miss you, and just send you all my love. I hold you close within my heart, and there you will remain, to walk with me throughout my life until we meet again. Thank you.
Can you hear me at the back there? I have a hearing problem, and I'm well aware that sometimes I forget my hearing aids, and I miss out on what people say, and that's so valuable, you know. What we've heard about Ivy, wow, what a life, what a wonderful, what a miracle, you know, for being born so little, and then living to the age she did. My name is Christine Cole, and I'm from South Australia, married to a Broken Hill man, and been living here in this wonderful city for some time, since about 67 or so. I first met Ivy and her in church at the Crusade Centre. I've written it out so that I make sure at the Crusade Centre in Thomas Street, where the late Pastor Doug Lee ministered. We were happy singing the songs, choruses and hymns, and especially hearing the word of God from Pastor Doug. Bless him. Ivy told me about Eleanor one day and invited me along to a meeting. I'm so grateful for meeting Ivy and her and learning about AA and Al-Anon. I now always encourage people who talk to me about their problems with serenity prayer. God grant us, and I know that probably off by heart, but I'm not sure of the Al-Anon prayer, but I'm learning that. At one stage of my life, my family and I were exposed to alcohol abuse and family violence. The last time I saw my dad, I was about 13 years of age, and in Adelaide, and he was going with his brother-in-law to get more alcohol. I gave him a look. I was sitting in the lounge, gave him a look of disgust and dislike as he left. Probably that age. I gave him a yes as he left. My dad was injured in a car crash near home on Main North East Road and died a day or two later. Because of the DV and family violence, I never ever took up alcohol and won't have alcohol in my home. For all of my adult life, I blame myself for treating my dad with this disrespect and disdain, and continuing to bring family and friends into our home to drink, cause fear and violence in our home. When Ivy and the Al-Anon group ladies at an Al-Anon meeting assured me that it wasn't my fault that my dad drank, that it was his decision to drink, that made me stop blaming myself for my dad's death and for the way I treated him just before his death. Ivy told me how her father used to help the Aboriginal people who lived on the mission outside of Sejuna and in the West Coast area. When Social Security first came in, Ivy's father would help Aboriginal people, help anybody with that pair of people fill in their forms to be able to get the pension. A lot of the people couldn't read and write, and the Aboriginal, and they didn't know their date of birth. Date of birth for Aboriginal people were not required to be kept at that time, so Ivy's dad helped them to estimate their date of birth and to fill in the form so that they could get the pension. That's wonderful. Ivy would invite me out to her place for Bible study and prayer, followed by a cup of tea, cake, and even homemade pasties sometimes. Ivy's pasties were a favourite for my husband Ted and for me, and the scones and whatever else she had in the oven. When Ivy went to live with Janet, we kept in touch. We had many chats, caring and sharing with each other for our family. But when Ted and I would visit Adelaide, we would always try to visit Ivy at Janet's. Our last visit together was at the nursing home in Adelaide. I was in Adelaide for an appointment, a specialist appointment, and arranged with Ivy with Janet for my daughter Judy and her granddaughter, our first great-granddaughter, to visit Ivy. We shared Bible readings, sang one day at a time together, prayed, and we shared our Christian faith. I feel so privileged to have known Ivy and Herb. I look forward to seeing Ivy and Herb on that day when the Lord Jesus returns to earth to gather his followers. May God, may Ivy and Herb see many of you there, as Ivy did. She believed in the Lord Jesus Christ, that he would answer her prayers and meet her every need. I just want to say another thing. The minister talked about Ivy's kidneys. Wow. It was about a month ago that I was diagnosed by the kidney specialist that I have 13% kidney function. And listening to what the pastor said about Ivy with her kidney, and wow, she lived to this age that she did, that gave me heart, you know? Wonderful. Just one day at a time with the Lord. Thank you very much, and may God bless Ivy and Herb's family and friends. Bless you all. Thank you.
Do you realise that during our life, amazing things happen? And circumstances bring about a change in our life, especially in regard to friendships we make. We meet new people, and some become friends forever. My daughter Cheryl made friends at high school with a girl called Tracy Owen. They spent a lot of time together, and Tracy came to our youth group run by our son Wayne. Through the girls' friendship, Herb and Ivy came to our church meetings and became involved in our church and helped with many fundraising we were involved in, and we became friends. When the girls were around about 13 years old, our family was going to Port Augusta to Redcliffs for a holiday, and Cheryl asked if Tracy could come also as company for her, as her brothers were usually together. Herb and Ivy said yes. So when we called for Tracy, there was Ivy with lots of lovely homemade Cornish pasties for us to eat on the way, plus other goodies as well. hot pasties with the delicious smell which the family didn't leave too long to eat. Our son Stephen was about 14, and both Stephen and Tracy loved to explore and do adventurous things, and at Redcliffe they had that opportunity to do so. So instead of Cheryl spending most of her time with Tracy, Stephen was the one that spent the time with Tracy. Unbeknown to us at that time, eventually Herb and Ivy would not just be our friends, but part of our family, as Stephen and Tracy married young. We also shared in the joy of our grandchildren as they arrived. Cheryl also had another friend called Alison Howe, who Cheryl took to youth. And her brother Wayne married that friend as well. I had to tell you that. So two friends got taken by her brothers as their wives. I remember I went to Ivy's 90th birthday party. I was so happy to be able to go to Adelaide for her party. We had a lovely weekend with our families together, because we became not just friends, but our families became our families. And so the Owen family is part of our family, the Lee family is part of the Owen family. Ivy was so happy and looked like the queen bee with all her family together. I want to thank you, Ivy, for your beautiful daughter Tracy and a lifelong friendship. You'll be missed by many. And Ivy, I thank you for the times that you've been in my life. It has been wonderful. But also remember someone mentioned about her having had a heart bypass done. She always blamed me for that, because she came to me one day and said she had heart pain. And I said, you've got to go to the hospital now. So she went up to the hospital and they put her in and did the operation. So she said it was my fault that she had to have the operation done. And God bless you all.
Hello everyone, don't mind my voice. So I just want to say I feel so privileged to have the opportunity to speak about someone who has had a great impact on my life and the person I am today, my Nan. Nan has always been a big part of my life. As a child I spent a lot of time at 31 Bournemouth Street. As Tracy was saying, while Pop was inside stirring the stew, me and Nan could be found in the backyard burning off weeds with a fire blazing and hose in hand, and also ready to call the fire brigade. Obviously one of Nan's favourite pastimes, which I'm sure many of us here shared with her. Always one to praise my abilities, whether it be playing the organ, gardening, cooking, cleaning, or knitting, none of which I was really that good at, except cleaning. My friends were always made to feel welcome, bringing us dinner in bed, teaching us to cook her version of fried scones, which she called puff-de-loons, and allowing us to sneak some of Pop's scorched almonds from his chocolate stash. As I got older, I could feel how proud Nan was when I bought my first home. She would visit and we'd watch our show, Wheel of Fortune, together. I'd visit her, we'd watch Wheel of Fortune together, and we'd also wash the light fittings and help her with the things she wasn't able to do anymore. Eventually Nan made the move to Adelaide, and not long after I followed. In 2009, we travelled back to Broken Hill together, me behind the wheel. Darren and I had only had the car for a few weeks, so when a bit of gravel flipped up, chipping the windscreen, I was upset and said to Nan, "Oh, what will Darren say?" Later in the trip, while overtaking a truck, I lost control of the car. 110 k's swerving from one side of the road to the other, I saw my life and Nan's flash before my eyes. After what seemed like an eternity, the car spun off the road. I yelled for Nan to hang on, and at this point, I let go of the wheel. We held hands and pretty much gave up. I still remember the look of terror on Nan's face, and in my mind I was thinking, this is it, I've killed her. Thankfully, the car eventually came to a stop, and as the dust cleared and we realised we were safe and had managed to dodge some trees, Nan turned to me and with a cheeky smile and in typical Nan style said, "Well, what would Darren say about this?" Not one to dwell on the fact I nearly killed us both, instead Nan took great satisfaction in telling all the people on the plane on the way home a few days later that we nearly died and it was a miracle we were alive. We laughed about this for years to come, and maybe embellished some of the details along the way. So finally, I just want to say I'm so grateful that Isabella and Olivia had a great relationship with Nan. They loved to visit her, and although the activities changed from when I was a child, there was no fire in sight, the girls loved to sit on Nan's lap, play games on the computer, and eat lollies and biscuits. Nan, you'll be missed dearly but never forgotten.
Right, so Hank has something to say, but he's just warming himself up, so I'm going to go. But yeah, as we've sort of come to this point of like Nan's funeral memorial, it's been like a long process, and it's one of them funny things with me and Nan. I feel like my sisters have always got along really well with Nan. They've always just done stupid crap together, and they've always loved it. And then as I've gotten older, I feel like I got the split of like Pop's genes where I just don't tolerate people's crap at all. So I've always found Nan to be an extremely peculiar human to me, because she never really did anything that made sense to me at all, ever. So every time I've spent time with her, I've been like, how can this human just be like, yeah, the doctor said I could eat custard and not drink water, this is fine, no problem, and then get 100% dehydrated and nearly die, and be okay with that though, and just be like, no, Dr. Jesus said custard's fine, we're good. So Nan is one of them people that, as I look back and even watching the photos and just seeing stuff, I feel like she probably was the perfect balance in Pop's life, because even though I never got to know him that well, and all the stories that me and Begsy talk about of Pop, because Begsy knew him far better than I did, I feel like his life would have been so much more boring and plain if it wasn't for Nan doing stupid crap. So I sort of appreciate my sister's madness now, because they all just do silly, retarded things that Nan would do, and I'm sure she's very proud of them. So, Hank, can we come say something? Come on, you can do it. Come on, I'll help you read it. I'll help you read it. Come on, I'll help you read it. Come here.
So a little while ago I was arranging some funeral stuff, and Hank came over to my house, and then he said, "So who's in charge of the funeral?" And I went, "Well, I guess that's me." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Are people saying things about Nat?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "Okay, is Auntie Wendy?" I went, "Yes, she is." And he said, "Well, I'd like to say something as well. If Auntie Wendy can do it, I can do it." So I said, "Well, sure, go ahead and go home and write something and get back to me." And so he just come to me this morning with his little piece of paper, and it's really good. So would you like to speak now? Yes.
No, I'm just going next. You go now. You're right. Yeah, I'll help you. Ready? Go.
My favourite memory was when I went to Nana Owen's birthday party. Me and Grammy made a cake. Nana was talking to all her friends and family. Nana Owen was very special to me.
Haven't got much. There hasn't been too many things in my life or anyone's life that I believe are really solid and unchanging, but to me, Ivy was solid as a rock. The Ivy I met when I was 13 years old over at her place was the same Ivy I remember saying goodbye to in the Adelaide hospital. Like, nothing really changed as far as her personality and who she was. And I really loved her for that. And when I first met Ivy, she thought I was a cheeky larrikin at best. Not saying that she wasn't the same. And I remember her huge smile of approval and agreement one time at my house in Parks when Wendy yelled at me, "Stephen, you're a dickhead." She had this big smile on her face, and so I went, yeah, that's really what she thinks of me. But I think she still sort of loved me in some ways. And I remember we went to Bali with her at one stage, and we had to go to church one morning, and I said to her, "Would you like to come on the motorbike with me?" And I somehow coaxed her onto the motorbike, and so I had to pick her up from behind and plonk her on the motorbike, jumped over and rode through the streets of Bali, the most dangerous place possibly in the world to ride a motorcycle. And she just, all the way there, all I could hear was, "Stephen!" going through, and she's just screaming all the way to the church. We went to church and I rode home again. And then the following day, to give you some idea of how fragile she was at the time, she just tripped over at the motel and broke her femur, her leg the following day. And I thought it was lucky because I quite possibly could have killed her the day before, but that wasn't what happened. So I have great memories of Ivy, and I just in closing, I'd just like to say that she was solid. She was a never-changing person, and it was the Ivy that I loved and learned to love the whole time of my life. And it's hard to grasp, I guess, that Ivy's no longer with us. I was thinking the other day that she was always there, and just thinking about it now, it's hard to grasp that she's gone. And I think I'll always remember her. Every time I hear Wendy call me a dickhead, I just think back to Ivy. Yeah, she was a great lady.
That escalated quickly.